And after that beautiful song, we shall say, how you doing? How's it going? And this is Samuel Trapp. You are listening to Damn Radio, and this is my show, and it's called International Flavor. And I'm glad to be here. I've been dinking around, I suppose would be the word for it, for the last hour. Have gotten nothing accomplished. I've just been reviewing a couple of things. Something hilarious occurred in the German, so it was the European Communities meeting. So they had a Europe, and you may have heard this already if you put it up, but I had to search for it. I heard it last night, or on the Sunday night episode of. For those of you that listen to me regularly, I listen to Vladimir Solovyov. I like to watch the politics on there, and I try to watch the Sunday night, or at least once a week. I try to watch the Sunday night. It's a 3-hour show, and he has, and it's every night. And so it's the politics for 3 hours in Russian, and it's awesome. So he brings in political commentators from all over the place, and they sit and they talk. And I'm not saying it's awesome for content. It's awesome to get the opinion from the other side of the world. And maybe it's not the opinion because a lot of people think he's a bit over the top. Well, there are a bunch of regular people on that show as well. And frankly, sometimes I find him a little, I don't know, rude, but so what? What do we have over here? We have some people over here that might not be the sometimes I'm a little rude. Sometimes I say some things, and he speaks from the heart. He says what he means, and maybe he's I don't know what, maybe he's a political hack for Putin. I don't know. Don't really care. I like to get the other point of view. Anyway, the first time I heard this next clip, which I can't give to you in English because it doesn't exist, but I finally found it properly translated in English, and much to my surprise, it had some actual additions to it, and it's only a minute and a half long, and I got to read it to you. But let me give you the backdrop, and everybody knows this horror story of politics that we have going on in Europe right now. They love their war in Ukraine. They hate them, the Russians and the Russian people, and everything they do is tailored toward that end. And so there's been some discussions, and I didn't bother to spend too much time figuring out why, which I probably should at some point, but I didn't. But they were the reason that Solovyov picked it up is because it's a slam, a complete slam on Kaja Kallas, and I still don't know how to say her name correctly, but she's Estonian, and she was the Estonian prime minister. She's a lawyer. She's not very bright. Is what I've always, when I listen to her speak, and I thought maybe it had to do. It'd be like if you listen to me in Russian, I'm very well spoken, but you know that the level of my Russian isn't the same as my level of English. So maybe I always gave her the benefit of the doubt when I would listen to her because English isn't her native language. And maybe, like me, sometimes she might miss the way things are said. I don't know. But I've been told, that my Russian, I'm, college level, I do pretty well. And I certainly understand it at that level, but sometimes it's hard to put back. So I always give her the benefit of the doubt, but I've always thought she was as you boys are dumber than a bag of hammers. You boys are dumber than a bag of hammers, and that was "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" One of my favorites. But I'm the history of this is just terrible. So a German MP, and he only spoke for a minute, and he was at the EC and this is in Spanish, so they translated into Spanish because they were talking about Cuba, and and what he well no, you know what, I'm playing the wrong one. After all of this, after all that, I still got the wrong one. Here it is. And Martin Sonnenbrand is the name of this channel where you can find it. And I'm serious that people are going to want to hear this, because you want to talk about offensive. And I saw Rubio do a pretty good one today too. Well, I think it was from the last few days. But here's Kaja Kallas, and so they introduce him into the session, and I'll play it on a low volume for you and see how it comes out, because I'm going to read you the text to it anyway. And here he is. He comes onto stage and he says, and the whole track is only 1:16, and he gets up and he speaks to her right to her face. I mean, she's literally 5 feet from him, and he says, Miss Kallas, why should I talk to you about Cuba? I just read your autobiography. 432 irrelevant pages, 80% discounted down to €3.99 in hardcover in Estonia. He's insulting her, obviously. You know as little about Cuba, Europe, and the world. And now she's looking all confused. You know, she has a set of headphones on. Someone is doing the simultaneous translation for her. He said, you know as little about Cuba, Europe, and the world as you do about diplomacy, foreign policy, or brain surgery. I expect to gain more insight in a conversation with my hamster about black holes in dwarf galaxies. I quote the most important lines from your book. Help, what an ugly photo of me. Now she's smiling, but, you know, obviously very pained. The Polonaise is a beautiful dance. I ran as fast as I could in my dress. I made eye contact with that young Air Force pilot. He's reading all the important lines from her book. After that, I went to the toilet. And finally, the Estonian ambassador, that was her, had a very strong craving for alcohol. And then he, even though it was still very early in the evening, nothing I understand better than that. MEP bar, here I come. And then he walks off stage. he came up, said that to her, and walked off. And I mean, it's classic. He's at the EC. He's at the European Union meetings, and she's sitting. You know, she's right there in the front row, and he gets up and does it. Now, I don't like or dislike her. I think what the entire set of Europe is doing is really pretty foolish right now in trying to prolong this war with Ukraine. And she is one of the major protagonists of this. Remember, the infamous train ride took place a little more than 10 days ago, I guess. And she goes on the train yard and gives another $1 billion to Ukraine. So these people are paying for the destruction of Ukrainians. Okay, they're not gonna win, and they're not winning. And today something pretty interesting happened. They made another inroad into Russian territory through the forest. So Russia has a hard time, well, so does anybody, by the way, but using drones and strike technology inside a forest. And they have some deep forests in north of the Sumy region. but further west than where they were in Kursk, and it's a deeply forested area. And apparently, they captured 100, or have been bombing today 100 Ukrainian special forces who, once again, are going into Russia just for the purpose. And there aren't enough of them to make anything. They can't do anything but send infantry over there anyway, because there's no way to get. You couldn't take equipment through there, and so basically, you have these terroristic groups headed in to create horror stories for private citizens in Russia, not even military. And they allegedly bombed the hell out of 100 of them this past 24 hours. And so that's not a good thing, frankly. And wonder how that's going to end up. But there's that. What else did we have in the videos that was so entertaining for us that I might actually be able to play? There was this one was interesting on banned languages. So get this. This is George Galloway again, my friend, and it's a pretty short one that he is talking about here. But here's Ukraine again, banning foreign languages. Here we go. Banning everything except Ukrainian. Listen to this.
Let me take some comments now. Ramplanes01 says the Hungarians trapped in Ukraine are being treated exactly like the Russian people of the Donbass. The Hungarian language has been banned. It's true. The Hungarian language was banned by Zelensky. Can't be used, can't be spoken by Hungarian people trapped in Ukraine since the end of the Second World War. The same is true for the Romanian speakers.
Isn't that terrible?
Let me take some comment.
You can't. It's going to repeat if I don't do something about it. I mean, and George Galloway. This is the guy that I met in Kazan last year, and he is very well spoken, and he's a former British MP, and so his sources are checked. I don't think he's just running around throwing out BS to people. I haven't had a chance to research it yet. Every time you say that about Russia, and I know it to be true about Russian in Ukraine, they all tell you that's Russian disinformation. And Galloway has been accused of Russian disinformation just like me. But imagine, and that entire area of Europe, of Eastern Europe, was so overrun. I mean, hundreds of years. It's gone back and forth, different directions here and there, and different cultures. Genghis Khan was there, so the Turkish Empire was there, the Ottoman Empire was there, the Austria-Hungarian Empire, the Germans, the French ran into there. I mean, the Russians took it over, the Poles took it over. It's back and forth for hundreds of years. We don't understand it because there was only one indigenous people here and we killed them all. Now, I'm not saying that to say, that's history. That's how history is. We happen to have the upper hand because, they were using bow and arrows and we were using, rifles, and we destroyed them. And that was that. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it is. And the same thing is in Europe. And so if you are going to outlaw languages in certain countries, I mean, and that is complete nonsense. You can't educate your children how you'd see fit. Why not? And that is certainly what they alleged for a long period of time in Russia, in the Donbass regions especially. They talked about that, and they talked about the outlawing, the banning of the Russian language, and not being able to teach it in schools. But for hundreds of years, it was the language. I'm not saying there wasn't Ukrainian. There was, but they, I told you a little bit about history yesterday and how the historic the history just changes, and I told you a little bit ago that I spoke with several people who are very well connected in the Donbass region, and they said that the books were being edited to say that Ukraine, that the anti-communists were more important than the anti-Nazi in World War II, like Stepan Bandera. And I read an interesting history on him the other day because it popped up on my feed, and I read a history, and then I went and watched a 20-minute video history of him. You want to see what the Ukrainians are honoring? Go check this guy out. 100,000 deaths to his quiver there, to his tally. Like in the Air Force when they would chalk up aces and planes that they killed on the side of their plane. Imagine 100,000 of them, little hash marks running down your pants leg. You wouldn't have any pants left. And that's how many Poles he allegedly assisted in the killing of in Lvov, former Polish city that is now a Ukrainian city. And so I don't know who's right here. I don't know. All I know is that banning languages in a particular country is not the way to go. He had another comment that I wanted to play for him too. Is on Pulitzer Prizes and how Obama got one. So let's listen to George on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, how bad do you have to be to get the Nobel Peace Prize is the obvious question that arises. They say that Satar died when Henry Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize, but I would say Barack Obama winning the Nobel Peace Prize 6 weeks after he took office, when he went on to make war in 6 different countries, I think, if I've remember that number correctly. It might even be more. The Peace Prize isn't worth the adulation that people give it. And if some of these people are entitled to it, then why not Donald Trump? But there's a big if, Angel. He's talked peace with Iran. He's talked peace with Yemen. He's talked peace on the Israel-Palestine question. He's talked peace on the Russia-Ukraine question. But there is actually no peace as yet in any of these theaters. And we need to know, we need to see whether Trump is all mouth and no trousers.
All mouth and no trousers. I don't understand the reference. Must be something British, but it just sounds funny. He's all mouth and no trousers. I suppose it means like the emperor's new clothes. He gets to talk, but he's his butt is showing. I don't know. Who knows? Well, he lost me on that one. That's why he's wise, and I'm just a person who follows along and thinks he's pretty funny. Here's the Rubio talks, because he did some too, and I want to make sure I'm in the right spot on this one, so I'll turn it off on the sound. It's where is he? Is it still live? Oh no, I wonder if that means I can't go backward, because no, that's a live one. I don't think I can get into that one, and I don't want to listen to it live. I want to hear Rubio on something that he said earlier, because that was killer as well, and he let somebody have it, but it had to be in there because that was the only one that I have that was Rubio today. Maybe it'll come out later in something a little not a live version that's running right now, because that one, the Rubio thing, is running right now. And when it first started, Rubio had said one of the senators, and I don't know who, but one of the senators had said that he was ashamed and he wished he could take his vote back because he had voted for Rubio, and he wished he could take it back because Rubio's doing such a bad job, is what he said. Now, I've been critical of Rubio as well, but I don't believe he's doing a bad job. I'm critical of him, but I think he's doing Trump's work. I think he's attempting to do what is best for the country. I'm not against that at all. But he defended himself too. And the rules of the Senate, and I don't claim to be an expert on those either, but from what I understand, if somebody's just commenting and not asking you a question, you don't get to respond. And of course, Rubio would know that, having been a member of the Senate for as long as he was. And what this guy said was, I wish I could find it in a short version, but I haven't been able to while we're sitting here either, to find a short version. But the guy goes, he says, "Can I respond?" And the guy goes, "No." He said, "No." And then he asked the chairman or whoever was running the committee, he said, "Can I respond?" And he said, "Sure." And so Rubio goes, Rubio says, "Well, if you want to take, I'm very proud of what we're doing." And he defended himself. "I'm very proud of what we're doing. I like what we've accomplished." What is it for us to pay for, I don't know, bobsled racing in Cuba or whatever it is we're paying for out of U.S. Agency for International Development? Apparently that's what the guy was bitching about, was that Rubio is terminating those type of programs. And he says, what is in the best interest of the people is us taking care of us and not having these NGOs, funded endlessly with money from here. I've saved $10 million here. I saved $12 million there. If you'd have wanted, I could have brought the list, and I have a small list of them here, but I should have brought the whole list. And he really defended himself. He did a good job. And I remember 15 years ago, maybe longer, I'm making that time up, that's an approximate, of times that I got to go back and listen and watch C-SPAN. People thought you were nuts if you watched C-SPAN. What in the world are you doing watching C-SPAN? What kind of goofball watches C-SPAN in his spare time? Well, I was one of them, and I didn't get to do it very often, but I liked doing it, and I didn't get to do it very often. And so I think that now being able to pick and choose some of the things that and there being so many different sources, truthfully, there's no excuse for not being better informed than you are. Oh, by the way, I heard JR's show today, and thanks for the shout out to my program tonight. But I think you mistakenly announced that my brother was going to be on with us tonight in Radio Land here. And it's actually tomorrow night. And we have a marriage going on in the family, and he may or may not be able to do it. I've tried to talk him into recording earlier, but not sure if that's going to happen, or if it's going to be live, or if he's going to phone in, or if he's going to Discord in, or however you do that. By the way, I don't think I even passed that out, did I? You can call in to the program at 573-746-8020, and I'd be happy to converse with you if you choose to do so. There is plenty of more to discuss today, friends and neighbors. And I think that everybody knows I've been pretty critical of the old Trumpster as well, in the potential for him to turn this the Ukraine war, and I thought he had turned that corner last week, and really did make it his war, but he's still teetering on the edge of it. And as long as he doesn't change the sanctions, he said something today on sanctions that was just ridiculous. He's talking about he's moved toward Moscow's view again, right? And that's being broadcast all over the planet. It's plenty for him to still stay out of, while Europe keeps, putting in more sanctions against Russia. By the way, last night I told you that story about the male model attacking Starmer's house. There was another one. A second Ukrainian national was charged in the UK. The PM probed into burning down his house, Starmer's house, where he doesn't even live. His sister lives there. And so let's get into that a little bit. Second Ukrainian national. Police also detained a Romanian national. 3 separate incidents in North London connected to Starmer. Here's the last one. Because yesterday we talked about the 2 that had been accused, and another Ukrainian national been charged in connection with arson. The Metro Police announced on Wednesday. Several media outlets report that the arsonist had set fire to properties belonging to or used by Keir Starmer, UK's Prime Minister. According to police, this one's guy named is Petro Pachinek, 34, has been charged with conspiracy to commit arson with the intent to endanger a life. He was apprehended Monday, became the 3rd suspect. The arson attacks to center the investigation, said to have taken place in rapid succession earlier this month. The vehicle set ablaze on the 8th. A fire was lit at the entrance of the property on May 11, and one more incident at the residential address on May the 12th. The authorities stopped short of naming Starmer as the target, but noted that all 3 cases have connections with a high-profile public figure, and therefore officers of the Counterterrorism Command led the investigation. According to the Telegraph, the first incident saw a Toyota RAV4 set ablaze in Kent, a neighborhood of London. The vehicle had reported previously belonged to Starmer, but was sold later to a neighbor. So media reports have further claimed that on May 11, a fire broke out at the entrance of a flat in Islington that Starmer had said to have owned in the 90s. The last of the 3 suspected arson attacks reportedly targeted the Prime Minister's current home in Tufnell Park, which is being rented out to his sister-in-law. No injuries reported in any of the 3. Addressing the UK Parliament last week, Starmer described the alleged arsons as an attack on all of us. So they caught another Ukrainian. No idea where they're going with that just yet, but we will keep an ear out. So allegedly, there's another flu pandemic coming, cat flu. We have us a phone-in person. Let us answer and see what we have. My name is Samuel Trapp. How may I help you?
Samuel Edward Von Trapp the First. Is that right?
Yeah. Do you remember? Yes, that's correct. Do you remember Dr. Fraser Crane when he would? I'm Dr. Fraser Crane. I'm listening. You know that guy.
Of course.
Unload all of your problems. I'm here to fix them, even now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then he had that girl in the background back there, that producer. What was her name?
Roz.
Yeah, she was great. She made the show. So do you remember, Sam, do you remember the guy that used to be on the radio before he died? What's the guy's name? Damn it.
The one JR likes? That was Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, no. It was not Rush. Well, we love Rush. Everyone loves Rush. He was on at night. He was on at night on KRMS, and it was back when you guys were on the radio and when things were good back then. When things were good.
I don't remember. I'm sorry about that.
I'm going to tell you right now, it was Jim Bohannon.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. I remember him. I do.
Yes, you remember Jim Bohannon, and he was on the radio late at night, and he had this call screener. Her name was Kathy, and she did such a great job because back in that day, what was that time frame? I was talking about to Jim Bohannon about balkanization of the United States. It's like let Chicago be fucking Chicago. Let New York's let the slums in New York be the slums. Let the Olympia, Washington, up there in Washington and Oregon and all the Chaz or whatever that shit is, and then L.A. and San Diego. Let them have it, man. Just let them fucking have it, and then let them realize what a bunch of fucking freaks, fags, and fairies they were to go down that route, man. They're gonna find it out that at most, Samuel, there is 3% that are in on this faggot shit that's going on. And so let them speak their thing. Let them speak their 3% thing. And just give them enough rope to circumcise all the little lads in the, whatever you call it, those, my granddad used to tell me, Sam, it's all the fight is about the Jews and the Arabs. My grandfather was an Irishman, a Scotch Irishman from Ireland and whatnot, and he came over here. His family came over here on the Mayflower, bro, and they fought. They worked hard. He was he drove a beer truck, and he always told me that the whole problem is going to be between the Jews and the Arabs. And that's what it's coming down to. It's not racist. It's not, whatever, anti-Semitic, It's
You got to
just
see what's
the
going on in Syria right now, because
right, a civil war.
from the Russian point of view, so I saw an article today on the Russian side. Russia still has a couple of very large military bases in Syria, and remember, Bashar al-Assad has taken off to Russia. He's there now. He lives there now,
Yeah.
and
What is he, a
there's the
refugee or
Russians
something?
have taken in 10,000 of these Alawites and are arming them and are
Yeah,
training them, and so
to do that.
this is not. We're marching ever forward because and who's pissed off about this? The West, even Turkey to some extent, and although Turkey is, I'm not sure what to think of Turkey. They play the middle of the fence and they piss off both sides all the time. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and I don't claim to be any great expert on any of the dynamic that goes on in the Middle East and in Turkey and with the Kurdish people and the US. All I know is we don't need to be there, but we
Right.
can't leave because in large part we're still controlled by the Jewish state, or we're so
Design.
deeply in that you can't even question
Yeah.
anything negative. You can't even and I don't take a position on it, but I see the point of view when we've killed 400 or 40, not we, but we've not condemned those who have killed well over 40,000 civilians in Gaza.
Well,
And, you
right.
know,
I'd like to take a position on it, Sam. And I don't know. I don't know how late it is. Where are we at? We're early. It's only 9:30. You just on for 30 minutes. Well, so here's my spot, bro. No, stop fighting. No more wars. No more bomb building. No more. No more baby killing. All these gosh darn, you know, abortionists that they call it. What do they call it? They call it reproductive health care when it's actually just genocide, whether they're black, white, brown, or yellow, or red, or green. That, dude, we are living in a satanic freaking situation. And it's only because of the propaganda and the bullshit that the mainstream media puts out to support these freaks, fags, and fucking fairies, man. They're
Yeah, but they're
marginal.
doing
They're
it to
fucking
support more than that. That's a distraction, in my opinion.
exactly,
That's just a distraction to keep
exactly.
people occupied while all the important things are going on. And there was uh Obama didn't he he did
Obama
everything that Bush did in his first term, and when it came time
the
to get
same.
to get reelected, that's when he brought up, oh geez, here's what we need to do, and he distracted everybody. And there are a lot of people who think that way. That and so what have we got? We got Black Lives Matter, which that movement didn't matter. That movement was BS. And people don't. The normal white person doesn't hate black people. You know what I
They
mean?
don't
But
know
but that's the way they tried to frame it. And
why.
so if you can
Why?
distract everybody with all of that BS and with turning men into women and vice versa, then you can funnel all the money you want to everywhere else in the world and get yourselves vastly wealthy for generations to come as the leaders, if you want to call them that, of the American government, of the U.S. government. And Missouri's right in there too, by the way. The Missouri corruption, I could go on for days about that. And sometimes I feel like I go on too many days about it and don't have any other topics that,
So
that get
here's
me all worked up. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, we should be worked up, but worked up to the degree that we disallow ourselves from continuing to be engaged in this giant charade, this giant charade, this giant unrealistic thing that's going on. And we're willing participants, bro. I mean, the phones, the things that we're communicating on right now and everything, the Walmarts, the American dollar and the relative fact that the Federal Reserve Bank is a not federal at all. It's a giant scheme and scam. And here's the problem, Sam. Me and you know it. JR knows it. A lot of people know it, but then there's a lot of people that are super fucking close to you and JR and me that don't fucking get it, man. They think that taking the shots and the wearing the masks and that being conditioned and brainwashed by the leftist media is the thing to do.
That's being a good citizen, and everybody wants to be a good citizen.
So what do we do with those people? To me, they were useless eaters and useless breeders and breathers. To me, they are no longer something that we can continue to accept. We need to expose them for what they are and put them in their place, a mental institution or something to that affair. They're
I
product.
view that as the dangerous part as well, because I don't believe they're mentally deficient. I only believe, well, I don't want to say that. I
They're,
believe they're mentally deficient, but only because they
they're
don't
dumber.
choose to know. That's
They are
they
dumber. They're dumber than fuck, bro. And so I
well,
don't know.
but
We
because they
talk.
choose to be.
Yeah, I don't
They're
know.
they're uneducated. Let's call it uneducated, and they don't
Which which
they
is
they
a
don't want to be educated. They don't want to find out the truth.
a synonym. So uneducated is a synonym for dumber than fuck. I mean, that's what it is. These
You boys
motherfuckers
are
are just
dumber than a bag of hammers.
bag of hammers, bro. So anyway, listen, I know it's late at night, and I'm glad that I found you on your late night radio station. I really enjoy talking to you. You're smart. You were a smart guy. And then, so here's the thing. I talked to Ike a little bit earlier today. We cannot continue to allow ourselves to be a part of this clusterfuck Charlie Foxtrot mind control thing. We got to say no mas. We're done. We're done with we're done playing your freaking games. We're not going to pay your taxes. We're not going to participate in your stupid, left, right, and middle bullshit, game playing at the whatever, you want to call it, the Missouri freaking legislature and the governor who's a fucking grifter and everything else. I think we just have to say, and Gabby's going to have our back on this, we just have to turn our back on all of it, and I think Ike is a big fan of that. And I think Ike is going to be the next governor of the state of Missouri, and we're going to just turn our back on these leftist frickin' bureaucratic bullshit, creep ass, bitch ass, leftist shit.
I hope Ike does go further. He's a guy who puts his money where his mouth is, and he does what he thinks is right, and full speed ahead, damn the torpedoes. And
Right.
I like to
Right.
think that I am in that category as well, and
You are.
and that JR is in that category, and that
You are.
that whether you agree with us or not is not the important concern. What's important is that you're allowed to think for yourself, and not from a position of ignorance. All I want to do is give people a different point of view of I've tried to, make an effort in my life to get a different point of view, and not to judge others. I mean, if I've been good about my religious teaching, it's only about that. You know what I mean? I don't judge others,
I do
what
know
was
what
that
you mean.
movie? Do unto others, then split. Do unto others, then split. But no, we don't judge people. I don't judge people. If you choose to, I don't know, cheat on your wife, that's not my concern. You know what I mean? If now, I don't want you to go out and kill people. I don't want you. There are things that, and I've said this for as long as I can remember. You remember Machiavelli and the Prince? It really, this thing got me in college. I remember reading it for the first time in college, and there was some sort of line in there that said it was on freedom or something like that. Some short blurb about freedom, and basically the
Free will.
only place you need government is the spot where free individuals collide. Like, you can wander around the street and swing your arms in a happy manner the way you wish to swing them around, and I can do that too. But if we walk down the street and our arms happen to collide in each other, the only point that government needs to exist is where our arms have collided, and ours is taking over the very street that we're walking upon. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And
yes. And so San Diego, I'm skipping. My mind is just bouncing from place to place to place, Sam, because we have
mine
so
does
much.
all the time, so don't worry about that.
All right. Well, so here's the thing. We are letting, as just participants in society, we are letting propaganda skew our perspectives. And when I say we, I don't mean you or me, but I'm saying people that have less of a defense system in front of them, less of a common sense thing in front of them. And there's so many of them, and we all want to get along and go along and not fight and not have civil war and not have world war, not have Armageddon and everything. But then there are people that are just so unable to open their eyes and take the red pill. Sam, they take the blue pill over and over and over and over. And we have people right down here like this, but but here's the thing. We have to individually wake up for whatever means we decide.
Yeah,
If
but you know
it's
what? Do you remember um, what was the name of that movie? It doesn't mean, but it's hard. It is hard to do to even take a position that you believe in. Most people would rather avoid even having to do the right thing. You don't. It's just hard. It's
because we
hard
engage,
to figure things out on your own. It's hard to spend time listening to other opinions. You would much rather sit in a room and speak only with people that have identical opinions, and in that way, you're never in a position of having confrontation. Confrontation is uncomfortable. Confrontation is why I became a lawyer, because I was good at resolving it and helping people come up with ways to a better idea, a different way of thinking, that hopefully both people could still walk down the street and swing their arms. You know what I mean? It's
well, think I'd like to think that rather than engaging in confrontation and conflict, we engage in some sort of cooperative venture, just because we all want the best for each other. I don't want bad for the people that I don't agree with. You know what I mean? I don't want them to burn in hell. I don't
Now
want
this
them
is
to
going to be radical for me to say, okay, and
go ahead.
this is but that was exactly
Hey,
the theme of the BRICS conference when I went over to Kazan, went over to Russia last October. The theme was we work to we work together in areas that we work together, and we stay out of areas where we don't. Do you know why they wouldn't let Iran in last year? Into not they couldn't even be a. I'm sorry, Pakistan. They wouldn't let Pakistan be a candidate last year, and the reason why is because of the unresolved border dispute with a current member, India, and now it's escalated to something more. And so that while you have these conflicts going on, you cannot be in. Do you know they're having a 100 member security council is meeting in Moscow. Delegations from over 100 countries are attending Moscow's security meeting. It's starting with the BRICS, and it's informal talks between BRICS, Southeast Asian nations, and it's on May 27 to 29. I want to go. I'd love somebody to fund it because you know what I mean. But I think I would love to be
what's
there.
what's what would something like that cost for you to get?
Oh, it's nothing. It's 3,000-4,000 bucks. I'm not sure I have the time, but it's
$3,000.
only May. It's only 3 days, May 27, 28,
So
29.
we need people like you over there in the middle of that stuff, because here's the thing, man. Nobody, no, how many people do you know? And Matt, your brother, besides that your interview with him was really super cool. But how many
He's on
people do you
again
know?
tomorrow night, by the way. So
All right, I'm going to tune in. That want to be fighting, that want to be on the precipice of nuclear war. I know one person. The only person I know about that is the guy from Israel, Bibi Netanyahu. He
yeah,
wants to
Netanyahu.
blow the world.
I read his book, and what a
That dude's a he
self-congratulatory piece of work that was. It
no
and
only
I'm not
go ahead.
against him, but I'm certainly not for him. Somebody needs to regulate that guy.
Yeah, he is literally trying to start World War nuclear Armageddon. That's what his deal is. And I'm going to tell you right now, he is no better than, I'm going to say it right out loud, Sam. He is like Hitler. He is a Hitler. He is trying to genocide all those people there. And listen, I'm not a fan of Save Palestine or any of that bullshit either. I couldn't give a left, right, or in the middle thing about that. But that dude over there, that Bibi Netanyahu, he is a Hitler. He is a Hitler. So I'm just saying, if I were Donald Trump, just like what he's doing, I'd just turn my back. As I would turn my back as a former tax-paying citizen, I turn my back and say, I'm not paying any more to fund these world wars. I'm not paying any more to fund
other people dying for nothing.
Yeah, for nothing. And that's the
It sure as hell ain't for democracy, friends and neighbors. It is not. And even if it was, who says democracy is the answer?
Well, that's a democracy is two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner, to put it in its most basic terms.
Especially in America, you only got the two wolves, and the rest of us are the sheep.
Exactly.
That ain't democracy.
Yeah, I'm stuck.
And ours, we're run by the judicial branch anyway, so don't.
It's terrible.
Don't get me started on that topic. Hey, I'm gonna let you go, but I want to ask you a man. I forgot what I was going to ask you. I want you to go to my. I was going to tell you this. I do my every night. I put my show on. If you can't listen to it, it's at internationalflavor.com. If you can believe that website existed. And every night I upload it to there. Before I go to bed, I upload the show, and people can download it, and it can be on my. Oh, I remember exactly what. So I do a video one with you, and I was going to say, because you're a regular caller when I'm on, but I also do a video one. And the reason I want you to go to like International Flavors Facebook page is that I will put out there the notifications of when I'm doing my live stream video feeds. And I can take up to 10. So remember me talking about this guy that I watch in Russia all the time. He has 6 political commentators and himself in a room talking. And I can have up to 10 on a screen. I think it would be fun to have a number of people. My brother and I tried it. I've had up to 5-6 people on there speaking in Russian that we've done, but I can have up to 10. And so anyway, I want to encourage, I want to do that as well. And we have to record them. I haven't figured out a way to live stream them simultaneously on Damn Radio. So we'd have to do it and then live stream it. I was thinking either a Friday night show or even a Sunday morning show. I'm not sure what to do yet, but I want to do something more. So anyway, I know that you do follow me a little bit, and I very much appreciate it. I'm glad to have some loyal listeners like you, and I appreciate it.
Sam, so are you going to come up for the August 1st train show?
I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. I'm trying to get a Russia trip for the summer, and this thing has me going. This Moscow security thing, 100 countries. Now think about this, 100 countries. And Russia's in isolation because of sanctions. This does not scream sanctions are working to me. If Russia has 100 countries coming to attend a global security meeting, I think Europe is on the outside here. I think Europe is isolated. That's what I think. So, but I am thinking of the August thing. In short answer to your question, I still got to get up there to see my mother, and I have a mother and children that live there, so I've got to. I do have to come back on a reasonably frequent time. So yes, and JR announces all of his advertisements on a regular basis. So that's a plus.
Night, have a great night.
Yep, you too. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, you bet, brother. Bye.
There he goes. So I appreciate the call. People can call in at any time on Damn Radio. 573-746-8020. And as they say, shoot the shit. I do want to counsel my listeners, however, that the F-bomb should be used sparingly. if at all. I try to control. I know I have a tendency to be a bit of a potty mouth, my damn self. But let's. My mother might listen sometime, and my mother would be offended. That's for damn sure. Oh, I just said damn. So I never heard my father swear ever, not once. And I was wondering if any of my brothers and sisters could call and say that they have. I remember hearing my mother one time say what I just said. Oh, you're out of your damn mind, or something like that. She said it like that. But other than that, I don't believe I ever heard my mother swear either. But I did her one time, and I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. But my father, you'd hear him say things like, "Oh, that was a dirty trick." My dad was just the nicest guy on the planet. And how he got saddled with the likes of me, who was somewhat not the nicest guy on the planet, makes you wonder. So there were good roots. Let's just put it that way. At any rate, we've kind of segued into the delegations from 100 countries coming to Moscow for this security meeting. And I wanted to, because this is important. This is important, people. More than 125 delegations from 100 countries across the global south and east, along with the representatives from 14 different international organizations, are set to attend Russia's annual Forum on Global Security, said the Russian Security Council. The 13th international meeting of high representatives for security issues will take place in Moscow from the 27th to the 29th at Russia National Center, chaired by Security Council Secretary Sergei Shoigu, former commander-in-chief, former commander of the military. The forum will include informal talks between delegations from BRICS countries, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, that's ASEAN, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Eurasian Economic Union, and the Commonwealth of Independent States. Discussions are expected to focus on strengthening international cooperation and shaping what organizers describe as, these are key words, friends and neighbors, a fairer and more inclusive architecture of equal and indivisible security, meaning not just the U.S. and the West, hegemony one more time being attacked. And this isn't just BRICS, okay? A seminar on global security based on social sciences will be held for the first time on the sidelines of this event, organized by the Security Council's Expert Advisory Board. The process of formulating key foreign policy decisions on international security and national sovereignty must be grounded in scientifically sound concepts, approaches, scenarios, and forecasts, the Council said in a statement. Russia has hosted the annual meeting since 2010 as a platform for exchanging views on global security, international cooperation, and joint efforts to combat terrorism, extremism, transnational crime, drug trafficking, and emerging threats. Now, I'm telling you, they're doing this because the UN format isn't working. Okay, it's extremely lopsided. And they're still feeling, remember what I just read to you, it's that the current system, and not just them, but the other 100 countries involved, that fairer and more inclusive architecture of equal and indivisible security. I'm telling you, this stuff's important, people. That's why I got so worked up last year and figured out a way to get over to the conference for BRICS in Kazan last year. And I tell you what, It's a. I wish somebody would report more on it. It ought to be me, but you know, unfortunately, I have to eat, and so I kind of work to survive, and I'd prefer not to, if at all possible. But so far, not there yet. Where else are we going to go? So, an ex-Ukrainian presidential advisor was shot dead in Spain. How about this? Here's another article for us to review. Unbelievable. News outlets have identified the victim as lawyer and former lawmaker Andrei Portnov, once an aide to Viktor Yanukovych. And so he's been killed. He fled Ukraine following the Western-backed armed coup in Kiev that ousted Yanukovych's government. So everybody had to disappear because the U.S. wanted to install its own power. Despite going into exile, he remained active in Ukrainian political topics, frequently appearing on national television. Portnov returned to the country in 2019 to support presidential candidate Zelensky. After Zelensky won, Portnov filed several legal complaints against outgoing President Pyotr Poroshenko. These are bad times, and he got killed in Spain. So, you know. China, Afghanistan, and Pakistan are teaming up to boost trade and security cooperation using Beijing's trademark Belt and Road Initiative to expand into Afghan territory. The three foreign ministers reaffirmed trilateral cooperation as a vital platform to promote regional security and economic connectivity. That's going to piss off India just a little bit. Just a tad. Here's Trump on Zelensky's call for tougher Russia sanctions. U.S. President Trump has pushed back on calls by Zelensky for tougher sanctions, saying the decision is his alone to make. Asked by reporters on Wednesday whether he was considering new measures, Trump said it would be his own determination and nobody else's. He recalled a 2.5-hour phone call with President Putin earlier in the week, followed by a conversation with the EU leaders. We'll see how Russia behaves. We'll see what's going to happen. We have a pretty critical time right now. Both Putin and Trump described Monday's call as productive. I'm not sure what that's going to work, but Rubio accused Biden of being irresponsible on Russia. So, he's saying the right things. The administration of the previous U.S. President Biden acted irresponsibly by effectively shutting off communication with Russia, testifying before the House Foreign Affairs Committee on Wednesday. This is where I heard that great quote today. The diplomat said Russia possesses the largest strategic weapon stockpile in the world and one of the largest tactical nuclear weapon stockpiles. With this in mind, there has to be, of course, he didn't point out that ours is, he was comparing it to ours. Doesn't want to point out that we are too. It's okay for us, but not anybody else, right? With this in mind, there has to be some level of communication between the U.S. and Moscow. And how long have I been saying that? What kind of idiot doesn't talk to his world counterparts, even if a war's going on? When the Cold War was going on, we talked more than Trump talked to him. I mean, we were real enemies then, right? We were just fake enemies now. We're the enemies of the enemy of my enemy's my enemy. Wait, the enemy of my friend's my enemy? I don't know how that works out, but nonsensical. What else? The Sputnik, I was getting to the cat flu pandemic. Allegedly, there's a pandemic approaching, according to the creator of the Sputnik 5 virus. Not virus, what do they call it? The shot you get. The vaccine. There you go. Sputnik. Now, I have... No, I can't talk about something I did that I don't want to get in any trouble for that. We'll talk about that another time. The head of Gamaleya Research Institute, Alexander Ginsberg, has warned that H5N1 avian flu spreading in cats could jump to humans, triggering a deadly pandemic. He said the threat is serious enough to warrant immediate vaccine development. A vaccine prototype should go through phase 1 and 2 clinical trials against a strain that is likely to start transmitting not just between animals, but from human to human, he told Izvestia on Wednesday. The institution was behind Sputnik 5, the world's first registered COVID-19 vaccine. A lot of people don't remember that, but that's absolutely true. According to Ginsberg, a mutation of H5N1 allowing airborne human transmission could lead to a crisis worse than smallpox. Fatality rate is 50 to 70%. And if transmitted by air, smallpox would seem like child's play compared to what would happen after 1 or 2 mutations. And I'm just glad we don't have the idiots we have running the show these days that were during COVID. What else do we have? Oh, this pissed me off, friends and neighbors. Get this. I'm going to read the whole article to you, and it's really not that long. It'll just take me a minute. And here's our Kaja Kallas, the genius running the European Union. Radio Free Europe and Radio Free Liberty were unfunded, right, by Trump. They had their funding cut. Get this. The EU hands the under fire U.S. state media 5.5 million euros, pledges emergency aid to the CIA-founded Radio Free Europe, which has seen its funding cut. And originally created in the 50s, covertly financed by the CIA to disseminate pro-Western narratives into the Soviet bloc, RFERL has more recently operated under the oversight of the U.S. Agency for Global Media. In March, President Trump signed an order eliminating most of the agency's funding as part of a sweeping cost-cutting agenda. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas announced the one who was referred to as a hamster, or as not as smart as his hamster, announced the bloc's financial lifeline on Tuesday. So she gave $1 billion to Ukraine last week, and now $5.5 million to Radio Free Europe, describing it as short-term emergency funding to support what she calls a vital mission, right? The $5.5 million package will act as a safety net, she calls it, to help the station maintain operations in countries within Brussels' sphere of influence, including Russia, Belarus, Iran, and several Asian states. Yeah, we need to have more war in Georgia, the country of Georgia, not the state, just so you know. In a time, here's a great quote from this genius. In a time of growing unfiltered content, independent journalism is more important than ever. Oh, so Radio Free Europe is independent journalism. I get it. Now I see. Well, in that case, obviously I'm not independent and so don't deserve to get 5.5 million euros to broadcast my highly twisted words. And damn radio, maybe we could use that 5.5 million and broadcast over here in the States, your European Union trash. Ugh. Since Trump's defunding order, Radio Free Europe has furloughed staff, suspended programming, and launched legal challenges. I gotta cry, people. Excuse me. A small tissue, a single tear rolls down my cheek. Although a Washington judge temporarily halted the administration decisions in April, a federal appeals court later blocked the release of funds pending further litigation. The broadcaster warns that it faces permanent shutdown in multiple regions if its financial crisis is not resolved. Let's cry again. Davai. Davai means let's. The Trump administration framed the defunding as part of a broader campaign to dismantle bureaucratic institutions that no longer align with U.S. strategic interests. Radio Free Europe's leadership has disputed that rationale, and its president, Stephen Kappas, calls the funding cuts a massive gift to America's enemies. Wow, I bet we should listen to him on the radio. Administration officials and critics have argued that RFE, RL, and its sister outlet, Voice of America, have lost their relevance and veered towards partisan editorializing. No! Who would believe it? Tech billionaire Elon Musk, who heads the Department of Governmental Efficiency, DOGE, has publicly called for both outlets to be shut down, writing on X that nobody listens to them anymore. Well, that's really true, sadly for them. But they're still making big money. You know, I mean, that 5.5 million should pay that president's salary for a little while. And we have, this troubles me, and I'm going to talk about it. But again, I'm careful in what I say here. But Israeli troops are accused of firing warning shots at foreign diplomats, and there are videos of it. It's frightening. The IDF has accused the international delegation of straying from an approved route inside the West Bank. Israeli soldiers fired shots near a group of diplomats visiting the Jenin refugee camp, prompting representatives from 20 countries and accompanying journalists to scramble for cover. According to videos at the scene, the tour organized by the Palestinians included delegates from dozens of countries, including the United Kingdom, Canada, France, Italy, Spain, China, Japan, Mexico, Egypt, and others. No injuries reported, but video footage showed diplomats fleeing in panic. According to initial inquiry, the delegation deviated from the approved route and entered an area where they were not authorized to be. So IDF soldiers operating in the area fired warning shots to distance them. You can't pick up a radio? Jeez. The IDF expresses regret for the inconvenience caused. I wish I could play this video, but it's on my computer and not on the computer for, I wonder if I can do it this way. Hold on. We're going to try something new. Just so you can see what happens. Oh, it is here. Hold on. Let's see if it works. Wow, there's a tower and they're shooting them off. And people are scattering. Yeah, that's a good way to treat your visiting diplomats, huh? Wow. Let's try that one more time. There was another one that I can't remember which one I saw that had the worst of it, you know. Let's see here. We're going to try it one more time and see if we feel like I'm not getting much done here. Not being very successful. Here we go. Nope, it's just spinning. Well, technically challenged. Kicks in again. Yeah, they're firing.
تواجدنا يطلق النار بشكل مباشر.
Yeah, so all these people with cameras and they're firing. Get out of there. Don't go there. Just wow. You're not allowed to see certain things apparently. Nonsensical. Crazy stuff. But I just learned a new trick. I just learned that I can copy and paste a link, and I don't know why that wouldn't have worked before. For me, I don't know. Maybe I just I just thought of it. Let's see, what else? We already read that one. Trump moves toward Moscow's view on Ukraine talks. This is again a very short one. Recent conversation between U.S. President Trump and Vladimir Putin has clarified the emerging diplomatic structure around Ukraine. What we are witnessing resembles the first reading of a play, the distribution of roles in what may become the next act of the conflict's evolution. Trump is gradually aligning with Russia's proposed framework, direct dialogue between Moscow and Kiev, with the U.S. serving as arbiter and guarantor, primarily to ensure Ukraine's reliability. Well, it's true, Ukraine is not very reliable. Western Europe is excluded from this scenario, viewed not as a neutral party, but as a destructive actor in denial about its role in the conflict. The alarmed reaction from Kiev and EU capitals is certainly understandable. Their preferred model assumes a collective Ukraine made up of Kiev, Brussels, and Washington, presenting a united front against Moscow, coordinating pressure through sanctions and setting the conditions for talks. Trump has no interest in this script. So far, I say, his rejection of collective pressure appears not only consistent, but more and more confident. Well, it seems that he's finally, I hope he gets away from the Kellogg and the nonsensical Lindsey Grahams of the world. At this stage, the substance of potential negotiation remains secondary. Trump's priority is the appearance of movement. For him, optics matter more than outcome, and Putin, understanding the rhythm of the performance, is playing along skillfully. Excluding Western Europe from the process is not incidental. It serves Moscow's interest directly. I think it serves America's too, by the way. Even Kiev seems to be realizing that the bloc's role has become largely obstructive, offers no leverage, only rhetorical posturing, and attempts to derail any path to dialogue. The key question now is whether this role allocation will hold. If it does, a new diplomatic phase could begin, with Moscow and Washington shaping the conversation, Kiev adjusting to a diminished chorus, and Western Europe quietly relegated to the audience. I like that one. That was written by a guy named Fyodor Lukyanov, and pretty well done. I already read to you about Sputnik and the danger of the cat flu visiting us, which we hope is not going to happen. Where are we? I had watched, I wanted to go back to the video. And by the way, I want to remind people that you can send me emails to internationalflavor.com. Samuel T. at internationalflavor.com is what I would like to offer you. And if you do, there could be, I would, be happy to consider international topics and that kind of thing. Where is that? There was another good topic from Australia, and I've got to go back and search for it. I don't want to stick around the Ukraine area anymore. I think with Trump finally getting to where he needed to be, I hope that he stays there. Here's but I should read this one. This one I meant to do. Is Netanyahu's forever war killing Israel faster than its enemies? More and more and more and more, there are people speaking poorly about Israel because of how long this has been allowed to go on and because of the extreme nature of what they have allowed. There is no discussion of working together to resolve, and they don't have to because they are Israel. And I read several, I must have been online for 45 minutes just reading the comments that were discussed after the Russia the training missions that they're giving to 10,000 in Syria, and how pissed off Israel is about that. Well, the discussions on the Russian side are just, I spent 45 minutes reading about those and getting, and I got to tell you, with people that grew up in areas where there are completely different cultures, with completely different languages, completely different histories, and conflicts that have raged for centuries, not just Israel and the Arabs, not just in Ukraine and all over Europe, but that entire portion of the world has been, I don't think we realize in America how wonderfully we've had it in the fact that the United States wasn't Texas overrunning Minnesota, Minnesota coming back, Kentucky coming down through Texas, and everyone traveling through Missouri with different languages, different cultures, different everything. 4,000 years. We got a fresh start. And so we really, really are unique. But I think we fail to realize the huge impact as Americans. I mean, we fail to realize the huge impact that such generational conflict creates. George Galloway talking about Hungarians not being able to speak Hungarian in Ukraine. Romanians not being able to speak Romanian in Ukraine. Russians not being able to speak Russian in Moldova or Ukraine. It's we might bitch about it, but we wouldn't do anything about it in America to say, oh geez, all you Mexicans come up from the South, speak English. Now we might say it and we might even require it. But we're not going to tell you can't use your own language. Generationally, the kids go to the same schools. 99% of the time, they're going to change anyway in a generation or two. What difference does it make? Now, that's starting to change as well, where I mean, here in Florida, you go into the grocery store and ask where something is. You can't, God forbid, you can't find where the toothpaste is because the people in the store don't know what you're asking. You ask a question, say, where can I get the toothpaste? And they, sorry, no English. What? Aren't we in Florida? Isn't Florida English speaking? But and then you can't find anybody that speaks English except at the cash register. And even then it doesn't matter anymore because everybody at the cash register is doing it yourself. So a lot of stuff is going on. Anyway, I've probably read too long, and there's no way I'll get through this entire article on the Netanyahu, and I want to. We'll see if we can remember this for tomorrow. And if you get a chance, it's called Netanyahu's Forever War is Killing Israel Faster Than Its Enemies. And it's an interesting article. And if you get a chance to read it, it's by a person named Robert Inlakesh, Inlakesh. Shkesh. Esh is a sh is a letter in Russian. Ash. And he's a political analyst, a journalist, and documentary filmmaker based in London, UK. He has reported from and lived in the Palestinian territories and works with Quds News, director of Steel of the Century, Trump's Palestine-Israel catastrophe. Now, I was offended by that when Trump said that as well, when Trump put out that, well, we're going to build all kinds of new stuff over here in Gaza. They don't want your new stuff. They want their homeland. They don't want to be run over by the U.S. and by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They want to, now, I'm not saying that deserved, undeserved conflict, no conflict, but I read that Netanyahu book, self-congratulatory, very much so, and let's see, Netanyahu has declared a new military operation in the Gaza Strip and is calling it Gideon's Chariots, seeking the reoccupation of the entirety of Gaza, all of it. So, and nobody on the West is going to stop him. Our government won't stop him. Nobody will do it. I mean, all they got to do is, and it's pretty funny because we're not very religious otherwise, right? And now everybody wants to claim that, oh, but don't you know, the Bible says, or don't you know, we're supposed to beat up on those Arabs. Shem, Ham, and Japheth back then, well, we know that there's not been any conflict since then. There shouldn't have been, weren't that Noah's kids? that isn't, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, it was a long time ago, but maybe that's that is the case. But I've been doing a lot of reading on this lately because I don't want to be ignorant of the Israeli Gaza, and the Palestine, the Syrian, all that conflict over there. I'm always apologetic of the things that I say in relation to that because I don't consider myself an expert in that area. I don't feel comfortable claiming, I'd much rather get in a good conversation with somebody and ask questions about it. So I'm actually trying to scare up an interview with George Galloway because I like him. And I'm going to find that video of his again where he chewed out that Sky News guy from, was it Sky News? I think it was Sky News, that he destroyed him while we were over in Kazan. And I happened to be there when he did it, and wish I'd videoed it my damn self. I'd have got 1 million clicks on that sucker because he was pretty, and he's well spoken anyway. And he calls it the mother of all talk shows. Moats is his program. Moats, Moats, mother of all talk shows. And he's even doing a video call-in show. He's doing what I kind of want to do, that I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Maybe I can do it with him. I'm trying to figure that out. And he was over in Russia. He went to Victory Day. I was a little jealous of that as well. Well, that's going to wrap up the show for this evening. I want to tell you that you can go to damradio.com/schedule and see everything that we are doing. I am the end of the longest programming day for us, which is every Wednesday. I appreciate it if you come and listen to me every night. You can listen to the downloaded or to the podcasts and download them, damradio.com/podcasts. You can also do mine, just International Flavor, if you like, at internationalflavor.com, and I would appreciate it if you did. Feel free to go out and like our Damn Radio Facebook page and check out my International Flavor page out there as well, and hear all the new things that come up when the shows are put on the air and what the topic is. Tomorrow night, I will hopefully have my brother. He still haven't totally finalized our scheduling issue, but I think we're going to be just fine. And hopefully he will be here tomorrow night. If not, we'll get to him next week. I got plenty to talk about tomorrow as well. I'm very glad to have you. Very glad you pay attention to our show. So keep it all together. I'm not sure what music is coming our way. See if, another brick in the wall is coming up next. I love it. You have a very good evening. Peace